Welcome to the Geostrategic Podcast, your ongoing source for clear, structured updates on global geostrategic challenges. We explore the forces shaping global power, crisis hotspots, and how governments react, so you stay informed with less effort.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something really fascinating and strategically very significant. The recent first ever deployment of U.S. Air Force B-1B Lancer bombers to Norway. Now, this isn't just any routine training mission. It feels like, well, like a statement.
It absolutely is. I mean, at its core, this Bomber Task Force mission, the BTF, it's about boosting interoperability, readiness with key NATO allies, think Norway, Sweden, Finland. They're training together in some seriously challenging airspace, the Arctic and the Nordic regions.
Right, but the real story here, what makes this so interesting, isn't just the training itself. This move sends a pretty clear strategic signal, wouldn't you say? Especially to Russia.
Oh, undeniably.
And the timing. Oh, it seems very carefully chosen. It's happening just before a big meeting between the U.S. and Russian presidents, and also just ahead of those massive Russian-Belarusian military drills.
Exactly. And we could also unpack the B-1B Lancer itself. It's a long-range strategic bomber, but, and this is really key, it now only carries conventional weapons. Understanding that detail is crucial to grasping its current role and, the message it's sending.
Okay, so let's unpack it all. What does this deployment mean for air power in Northern Europe in the Arctic? We've got sources on the deployment, the plane, those upcoming Russian exercises. Our mission really is to help you connect the dots. So let's start with the immediate event. August 9th, 2025. At least 2 B-1B Lancers land at Ørland Air Base in Norway. They flew all the way from Dyes Air Force Base, Texas. Now, the U.S. Air Force has been doing these BTF deployments in Europe more often.
Right. This is the 5th in fiscal year 2025 alone.
But this is the first time the B-1B Lancer specifically has landed in Norway. And interestingly, these missions often happen now with very little, sometimes no, public warning beforehand.
Yeah, that's a trend. And looking at the immediate goals, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Alvarez, he's the commander for the deployed squadron, he's said, and I'm quoting roughly here, "This lets us train how we fight integrated with allies, ready and adaptive." And his Norwegian counterpart, Lieutenant Colonel Tom Christensen, echoed that. He talked about building experience, building trust, enhancing readiness, staying sharp. It's all very operational.
Okay, so it's practical, and it sounds intense. They mentioned ally-led training missions in complex, high-threat airspace, focusing on the find, fix, track, and target process. That sounds like more than just flying patterns, it sounds like. Serious aerial chess.
It absolutely is. That whole find, fix, track, target cycle. That's the essence of air combat operations, isn't it? Identifying a threat, locking down its location, tracking it, and then being able to engage it precisely. Doing that in what they call complex, high-threat airspace, especially in Arctic conditions.
Yeah.
Well, that demands really advanced tactics, solid communication, and tight coordination under pressure.
And that coordination immediately points to allied integration. We know they plan to train with Norwegian F-35s. Does this likely go beyond just Norway?
Oh, almost certainly. You have to look at the bigger picture. It's very likely we'll see operations involving Sweden, Finland, especially now Finland's in NATO and Sweden's coming in.
Yeah.
We might even see flights over the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania.
Right.
And think about how they even got there. Spanish Efe-18s escorted them in, flying from Iceland as part of a NATO air policing mission. It shows the layers of integration already happening, and it highlights something critical. The U.S. Air Force is the only NATO nation with long-range bombers.
That's a key point.
It really is. It means these U.S. deployments aren't just symbolic support. They provide a capability that no other ally has, fundamentally changing the power projection equation up there.
Okay, so we know where it is, why it's training there, the allied aspect. But what about the aircraft itself? The B-1B Lancer, it looks distinctive, and you mentioned it has some surprising capabilities. Let's get into that.
Right. The Air Force has, about 45 of them operational? It's not a new plane entered service back in 1985. Originally, yes, it was a nuclear bomber, the Cold War design. But, and here's the crucial bit for today, after the Cold War, it was converted. It only carries conventional weapons now.
Yeah.
That shift is fundamental. It's gone from strategic nuclear deterrence to being a very powerful conventional strike platform.
And it's huge. You see pictures, it's impressive.
Yeah.
But its real advantages are speed and range, right? What makes it suited for these kinds of long-haul missions?
Exactly. It's built for distance and speed. Top speed is Mach 1.25. That's around 925 miles per hour. Its range is substantial, about 6,500 nautical miles without refueling, and it flies high, up to 60,000 feet.
Yeah.
But the payload, That's immense. Over 75,000 pounds internally, plus potentially another 50,000 pounds externally. All conventional ordnance. So you combine that speed, that range, and that massive conventional payload. It's a uniquely potent tool for projecting power over vast areas. Think about the Arctic, the Nordic region, huge spaces. It gives commanders incredible flexibility for long-duration, high-impact conventional strikes.
So, okay, a powerful, conventional-only bomber, first time in Norway, training closely with allies. But now let's circle back to the timing, because that adds, as you said, a whole other layer. Strategically, what's going on here? Why now?
Well, the timing is just, you can't ignore it. Yes, planning these things takes weeks, months even. But the arrival on August 9th, that's just days before this planned Putin-Trump meeting in Alaska this Friday, a meeting ostensibly about ending the war in Ukraine. So you can be absolutely sure the Kremlin is taking notice of these Lancers training right next door, essentially, during this very sensitive diplomatic period.
And it's not just the meeting. There's also the Zapad 2025 exercises coming up.
Yeah.
That proximity and timing, it feels deliberate, doesn't it?
It feels very deliberate. This BTF mission is happening just about a month before Russia and Belarus kick off Zapad 2025. Those drills are set for mid-September, the 12th to the 16th. And remember, this is the first big Russia-Belarus exercise since Zapad 2021.
Which happened right before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
Exactly. That context is impossible to ignore. Now, officially, Moscow and Minsk say Zapad 2025 is defensive, maybe 13,000 troops. But Western intelligence estimates, they often suggest much larger numbers, potentially 100,000, maybe even 150,000 personnel involved in the broader exercise framework.
That's a huge difference.
It is. And the European Parliament has previously called these Zapad drills brazen provocations. There are real concerns that Zapad 2025 could be used potentially as cover for some kind of actual military escalation. So the timing of the B-1B deployment, it sends a very strong, very clear signal to Moscow, amplified by both the upcoming diplomacy and these looming military exercises.
And we've had those slightly confusing messages from Belarus too, right? Lukashenko first saying drills would be inland to lower tensions, then saying they might move forces near borders anyway, citing NATO activity.
Right, that ambiguity creates uncertainty, which can be part of the strategic game itself.
It keeps everyone on edge.
It does. And it forces us to consider the wider Russian military picture. General Kavoli, the former satir, made a striking point recently. He said Russia's military is rebuilding, reconstituting much faster than expected. He stated it's actually larger now than before the Ukraine war started, despite, horrific casualties, estimated around 790,000.
Larger now, despite those losses.
That's what he assessed. So this B-1B deployment has to be viewed against that backdrop, Russia's long-term strategy, its focus on potential future conflict scenarios, possibly involving NATO's eastern flank. And Zapad exercises historically, go back to 2009 really, have often been used to simulate escalation pathways and test NATO response times.
And we are seeing tangible signs of Russian military buildup. New bases, new rail lines near Finland, Norway, Estonia, boosting missile units, air defenses, aviation in Belarus, even reopening old airfields.
Don't forget Putin announcing Oreshnik intermediate-range missiles possibly going into Belarus, and that new military base near Finland after they joined NATO. It's all part of a pattern.
A concerning pattern.
Definitely. Which brings us back to why these joint exercises, like the one the B-1Bs are participating in, are so vital for NATO. They build that practical experience and trust. They genuinely enhance readiness. They help forces stay sharp. It's about showing NATO can work seamlessly together.
It's a demonstration of capability.
And a direct countersignal to any Russian assumptions about the region.
And we're seeing other NATO allies react specifically to Zapad 25 already. Germany sending Eurofighters to Poland.
Poland planning its own large exercises in response.
Lithuania ramping up intelligence gathering. It shows a coordinated alliance posture.
It does. But it also underlines the underlying concerns these drills raise. Fears about the Suwalki corridor, that critical land bridge between Poland and Lithuania, separating Kaliningrad from Belarus.
Always a flashpoint concern.
Always. Plus worries about simulated attacks on the Baltics or Poland, or just using the exercise as cover for a real troop buildup near the border. General Grinkowicz, the current Sesir, even warned about a potential crisis window opening up, maybe as early as 2027, possibly involving coordinated Russian and Chinese actions.
That's a stark warning. And it really emphasizes the pressure on frontline states, Poland, the Baltics, Finland. They have to adapt their deterrence posture, their readiness, their joint exercises urgently. They need to be prepared for, as one source put it, real-time troop movements, capable of triggering localized crises.
especially given the Zapad 2021 precedent leading into Ukraine. That memory is fresh.
So, looking ahead then, this B-1B deployment, is it just a potent signal for this specific moment? Or could we see this becoming more regular, a recurring feature of NATO's presence in the high north? The Air Force hasn't said how long this mission lasts. Past ones varied, a week, sometimes nearly a month.
Well, the fact that the USAF is doing these BTF missions more frequently, and often with little public notice, strongly suggests a trend. It points towards greater operational flexibility, maybe normalizing a higher operational tempo in the region. These aren't just flybys for show anymore. They're about building muscle memory, refining command and control in that tough environment, and really deepening the practical integration between the U.S. and its Nordic allies.
So less predictable, more dynamic.
Which in itself is a form of deterrence,
Okay, so wrapping this up. As we look at all these pieces, it feels like the U.S. putting advanced, long-range, conventional strike platforms like the B-1B right into the Nordic region. Well, it signals a much deeper integration of Arctic security into NATO's overall strategy.
Absolutely. This isn't just about, flying impressive planes over icy landscapes. It's fundamentally about reshaping the strategic geometry of the North Atlantic and the Arctic. For Russia, it means dealing with a more capable, more geographically flexible NATO right on its northern flank.
And for allies like Norway, Sweden, Finland, it must be a very tangible sign of American commitment, especially in a region where the geography and climate demand really specialized capabilities and close teamwork.
Exactly. And over time, if these deployments do become more regular, it could normalize that higher operational tempo we talked about. It reinforces those transatlantic defense links, and it definitely complicates any Russian calculations about using military pressure or leverage in the Arctic. Simply put, these B-1B flights are making a statement. The Arctic is now very much a key piece on the global strategic chessboard.
So here's a final thought for you to consider. If we accept these new strategic realities, this potential for a normalized, higher operational tempo, what might that truly mean for long-term security and stability in the high north? And how could those ripples spread across wider global geopolitics? Definitely something to think about. Thanks for tuning in. If you found this discussion valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to the Geostrategic Podcast for more in-depth analysis on topics that shape our world. Stay informed, stay ahead, and stay tuned for the next episode.